On the Yangtze River, a smaller alliance faced a commander who looked inevitable. Cao Cao had taken the north, controlled the Han Emperor, and marched south believing China would fall in one sweep. In the winter of 208, near a stretch of river later remembered as Red Cliffs, that confidence met something more dangerous than bravery. It met preparation. This is the Battle of Red Cliffs, the turning point that stopped China's greatest warlord. It opened the age later called the Three Kingdoms. China at the end of the Han was not a single country in practice. It was a map of armies. Power belonged to whoever could raise troops, feed them, and hold territory. Legitimacy was a story you told after you won. Cao Cao built the best machine in that chaos. He reorganized administration, secured tax bases, and absorbed rivals one by one. By 208 he had defeated major northern enemies and turned toward the south for one reason: the Yangtze River. The Yangtze River. The Yangtze was movement and wealth. Control it and you control shipping, granaries, and the fastest highway in the realm. Cao Cao also believed speed could replace stability. If he moved quickly enough, he could win before the South united. His advance reached Zhejiang province, the hinge between north and south. When its governor Liu Bo died, the province fractured. One heir surrendered, and suddenly Cao Cao gained ships, supplies, and a path down river. That single surrender spread panic faster than any cavalry. Every leader in the south now had to decide whether resistance was possible or whether surrender was simply rational. Liu Bei had no time to hesitate. He fled with soldiers and civilians, a moving reminder of what Cao Cao's momentum did to everyone around him. Cities had to choose whether to open gates. Commanders had to choose whether to fight. Ordinary families had to choose whether to stay. In a collapsing dynasty, war is fought with decisions under pressure. Liu Bei escaped, but he could not stop Cao Cao alone. The South's decisive power belonged to Sun Quan, ruler of Jia, a river world of forts and ships. Sun Quan faced the choice that defines Red Cliffs: submit to Cao Cao and keep local authority for a while, or resist and gamble everything. Many advisors urged surrender. Cao Cao controlled the emperor, which meant he could call resistance rebellion. His army looked enormous. His reputation was terrifying. Surrender offered survival, but others saw the trap. If Sun Quan surrendered, independence would disappear piece by piece. Cao Cao would replace commanders, take the fleet, and absorb the region into his system. Surrender was safety today and loss tomorrow. Resistance was dangerous, but it preserved future options. Sun Quan chose the risk. That choice made an alliance possible, and alliances are not feelings. They are mechanisms. Sun Quan's side provided the navy and river experience under commanders like Zhou, supported by diplomats and planners such as Lu Su. Liu Bei brought troops, a base of supporters, and advisors who could coordinate negotiation. Later tradition made Zhu Zhiliang legendary, but the practical achievement is already huge. Two rivals aligned quickly. They understood division meant defeat. Now look at Cao Cao's weaknesses. His force was large, but size creates requirements. It needs food, water, and coordination. Many troops were used to northern plains warfare, not river combat. His naval strength was partly assembled from newly taken territory, which meant training and loyalty varied. Above all, Cao Cao's campaign depended on ending the war fast. The longer he stayed, the more his advantages decayed. The battlefield was the Yangtze, wide and fast, with winter winds that could protect you or expose you. Red Cliffs was a strategic zone where fleets could maneuver and where shorelines could turn into traps. The Allied force could not win by meeting Cao Cao on land in a straight numbers contest. They needed to make the river itself a weapon. They needed to force Cao Cao into the wrong kind of fight. Cao Cao tried to solve one problem with a decision that looked clever and became fatal. He chained ships together to reduce motion and stabilize decks. Stable ships feel safe if you lack sea experience, but stability has a cost. You lose flexibility. You turn many ships into one target. You reduce the ability to separate, retreat, and isolate damage. On the Yangtze, that trade-off mattered. The Allies planned around environment and psychology. One more factor mattered: morale. Cao Cao's soldiers had marched far from the north, and many were unfamiliar with river life, damp winter air, and constant patrols along the shoreline. Supplies had to move by boat, orders had to cross water. Every delay gave the alliance more time to tighten defenses. For the smaller coalition, time was a weapon. For the larger army, time was a threat. They needed a moment when Cao Cao's fleet was committed and vulnerable. They needed the wind. A fire attack with the wrong wind would be suicide. With the right wind, it would be disaster for a chained line. So they prepared staged signals and pushed Cao Cao toward overconfidence. When a leader believes victory is inevitable, he starts trusting evidence that confirms it. Then the wind shifted. Fire ships moved toward Cao Cao's formation. With ships chained, separation was difficult and coordination broke quickly. The effect was not just damage, it was operational collapse. In river warfare, formation is supply, movement, and morale. Once a fleet loses control, the army behind it loses the ability to force a decision. The river corridor that was supposed to deliver victory becomes a channel of confusion. Cao Cao withdrew. That retreat is the core result of Red Cliff's. The battle did not erase his power, but it broke his timetable. It destroyed the dream of swift unification. And in politics, proving a strong man can be stopped changes everyone's calculations. Neutral actors become bolder. Potential allies become willing. Rivals stop panicking and start planning. The aftermath created a new balance. Cao Cao held the north. Sun Quan held the southeast. Liu Bei moved into the southwest and built a base that became Shu. The Three Kingdoms period, in one form or another, emerged from this equilibrium. Red Cliffs is remembered because it produced a dramatic truth. Sometimes the future is decided when smaller powers unite long enough to block the biggest one. It also exposes the paradox of alliances. The moment you win, your shared enemy is weaker, and your partnership becomes less necessary. The Red Cliffs alliance was temporary, and it did not need to be permanent. It needed to succeed once. At the moment when failure would erase both sides, we should be careful with myth. Later literature turned Red Cliffs into perfect heroes and flawless tricks. Real history is messier. We do not have perfect numbers for troops. We do not see every command decision. What we do have is a consistent outline in historical tradition. Cao Cao advanced south with a large force. Southern powers formed an alliance with strong naval experience. Fire and favorable wind helped break Cao Cao's fleet, and Cao Cao withdrew, leaving China divided among major powers. That division shaped the next decades. Rival administrations formed. Borders hardened. Diplomacy and warfare became routine. Unification was postponed, and competing states became normal again. In that sense, Red Cliffs is not only a battle. It is the moment when China's political future split into multiple directions at once. After the retreat, both sides understood what had really changed. Cao Cao could still threaten the south, but he could no longer assume that one campaign would end the war. Sun Quan gained credibility as a ruler who chose resistance and survived. Liu Bei gained time to rebuild, recruit, and secure territory. Even local commanders and elites adjusted their loyalties, because Red Cliffs proved that momentum can be broken. The battle's legacy is not only a famous fire attack, it is the moment strategy defeated inevitability. If you were Sun Quan, with advisors split between surrender and resistance, and you knew one wrong choice could erase your state, would you choose safety today or a risky alliance that might preserve independence tomorrow? And why would you bet your future on that choice?